Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna do something different. I wanna talk about 6 wild stories that I wanna share with you from my life. These are probably 6 of the events in my life that are just random or crazy or wild or dangerous or unusual, and I thought I'd document them here and talk about them in this video. I've been getting asked this question more about my personal life and things that have happened to me that have led up to this point where I now have these multiple businesses that I've bought, that I'm managing, that I'm overseeing, and we're actively going out and buying more businesses. So people are curious, what's kind of led up to this point in your life, Jason? How has it played out for you? And we're gonna get into it. So I made a list here, and I'm gonna read them off to you. Number 1, this was a wild one. My brother and I were actually in Vancouver Island, on the backside of Vancouver Island, in the middle of nowhere. We were in a rental car, and I was driving, my brother was in the passenger seat, and I was probably doing about 60 to 70 miles an hour on these dirt roads that were basically, because Vancouver Island is really mountainous, especially on the westernmost side. And so we were on this dirt road that basically was on the side of a mountain, and it was like a huge mountain here, dirt road, and then a huge cliff that basically went off from here. So it was a little bit dodgy, it was a little bit dangerous, and I was young. At the time I was probably 18, he's probably 16, and I'm kind of like rallying this rental car. It was something like Toyota or whatever, and I was just really beating the hell out of it, running it hard, and I was driving pretty damn fast, probably doing 60, 70, 75 miles an hour. And, you know, there's kind of curves, and that was what was fun. That was the whole point, right? So I'm hauling ass, I'm having a good time. And my brother's like, hey, dude, you better slow down. You better slow down. And I'm like, it's fine, man. It's fine. I'm pinning this thing. I'm whipping it around. I'm pulling the e-brake a little bit on these corners. And he's like, dude, okay, enough. And finally, he was really getting on me. He's like, Jason, chill out, man. Be cool. And I took my foot off the gas, and I started to slow down. We came around this corner, and right around that next corner, the whole road had washed out. There was literally only about 3 foot of road that had not completely washed out. And had I been pinned around that corner, and had I basically been racing the way I was up into that point, just a quarter of a mile before, honestly, I don't know if I'd be here right now. I honestly think we definitely would have basically been unable to avoid this run out on the road. And then the real question was, you know, would there have been trees or rocks or something that would have stopped us from rolling down like 500 feet? Because if there wasn't something that would have stopped us, I mean, we would have been dead. Very simply put, we would have been dead. So that was just a wild one that, you know, I remember that when I saw that, I was like, holy crap. Like the hair on my arm still stands up when I think of that story because of how stupid I was in retrospect, just having no idea. I mean, that's one of those, like, you should go out and like run the trail first and make sure you know what you're running before you gun like that. So dumb deal for me. That was me as a young guy. Glad we got out of that one unscathed. We just turned around and bailed. Like, we were both kind of shaken up, honestly. I was like, oh my God, that almost was really, really bad. My brother, in some ways, literally saved our life that day. So that was number 1. Number 2, basically the wild YouTube videos I used to make and getting arrested the night before my college graduation. So this was around the same time. This was like 2 years later. I was about 20 years old at the time. I went to UCLA, good university in California. And after like 1 quarter, I was ready to drop out. I was basically ready to drop out. And I remember I went home and I told my parents, hey, I want to drop out. And my mom started crying. It really, really, really bothered her. And it was one of the few times in my life I saw my mom cry like that. And she begged me and basically also demanded. She was like both begging and demanding that I stay in school. And I basically, in that moment, was like, okay, my folks really want me to graduate. It's only another year and a half. Because I went to junior college before that, transferred to UCLA. So I only had like a year and a half left. And I was basically like, you know what, okay, fine. I'll stay in school, but I'm going to start a business on campus. What can I do on campus to start a business? And at the time, this is like 2013. I was like, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. I'm going to make pranks and kind of crazy videos like this. And that's exactly what we did. We started a YouTube channel called Big Wolf. It quickly got a couple thousand subscribers. I remember we had a video that got over 200,000 views in a really short amount of time. I basically went up to, I was such a tool back then. I went up to women with their boyfriends there, and I hit on the girl with her boyfriend there. And I picked out guys that were buff, like jacked guys. There was one dude who had arms like this. It made a great thumbnail. It did really well. Anyways, so we were starting to get traction. The videos were getting views. We were getting ad money. And next thing you know, we did this crazy video where I basically pretended to be and I can't tell the whole story, like, it'll take too long if I tell the whole story. But the punchline is, and I can make another video about this if you want to hear more, but the punchline is, I dressed up as a CIA agent. My brother dressed up as a bum. We were doing all these like jokes and pranks out in front of like a Kohl's in like a shopping center. And like it was funny, but it wasn't that great. So then we like took the prank inside the store. I grabbed him, I tackled him. I made this huge thing like in front of the entirety of Kohl's with like these multiple like shopping lines there and like all these customers that were trying to pay. It was a really busy day. It was a Saturday, I think. So it was like probably like 30 or 40 women. Like I say women because it was all like 50-year-old women there. They were terrified. They were like, oh my God, what's happening? Because I grabbed him and from the look of it, and I didn't give the backstory, but basically he was pretending to be crazy and saying the FBI was after him. And people were like, okay, this is some like weird guy who's like on drugs. And my brother's like, if you see him, like he played the bum really well. And then I come in and actually tackle him and look like a CIA agent. I was dressed in black shades, black suit, black pants, black socks, black belt, black everything. You know, just looking the part. So I tackle him, and the problem we made is we didn't say it was a joke. Like we filmed this wild scene, and then I held my brother and I threw him in my buddy's car and just drove off. And in their mind, they're like, we just saw kidnapping. So we drove home, got home, and literally we look over where that shopping center was in my hometown, and we saw this helicopter flying above the shopping center. And my buddies were like, dude, don't you think that could be us? And by the way, I forgot to tell you, we saw 7 cops go in that direction on the way home. And I was literally such a salesperson back then. I was like, guys, you guys are being, I used some choice words, but I said, you guys are being, you're being cowards. Don't stress it. You guys are overreacting. That was nothing. My buddy, it turns out, missed the shot, because we were doing this for YouTube, right? He missed the shot. And I was like, you idiot, dude, come on. So we went and did it again, same day. Talk about stupid. Filmed another, went to another town, next town down, filmed the shot, got the footage. And at that point, my buddy got a call from his dad and said, hey, get your ass home. There's 6 Orange County sheriffs that are here. Get your ass home now. So we went home to his place. We faced the music. They asked if we were over 18. We said yes. Hands behind your back. You're under arrest. Got arrested. Spent the night in Orange County jail. Next morning was my college graduation. This is the craziest part. It was a college graduation. I was graduating from UCLA. And my whole family was coming to town to celebrate it. And I literally got out of that jail at like 8 in the morning the next day. This is the only day in my life I've been in jail. But yeah, I did spend one night in my life in jail. And it was just the most terrible day ever. I had my whole family coming up to me saying like, what a wonderful young man you are. You graduated college. You're doing great things. So you imagine having like 30 of your like family members, extended family, telling you what a great man you are. And literally the night before, you spent the night in a jail cell with like 8 other dudes. It was disgusting. It was terrible. There was literally feces, which means shit, on the wall like 4 feet from me. Oh my God, it was terrible. Never go to jail. So yeah, that was a wild time. We shut down that YouTube channel, and yeah, I'm glad I'm doing deals instead of making jokes. So that happened. That was wild. That was number 2. Number 3, living in Colombia. I lived in Medellin, Colombia for about 18 months. This was in my mid-20s. I had a lifestyle business at the time. I took the YouTube channel that failed, but the pranks that failed, but like all the crazy stuff we did, I had a following, and I parlayed that into a consulting business. I helped guys meet chicks and stuff like that. Some of you guys remember this YouTube channel actually started as that. So wild times, but lived down in Colombia and had a couple of wild scenarios I wrote down here. These are, of course, true stories. One is I almost got jacked in the gym. I had like 6 security guards that were basically all like undercover trying to be thieves. Like they were security guards that worked at this gym. These are a lot, like all these are kind of like long stories. But basically the punchline is like I walked in this gym. This guy tried to take my iPhone off me. He asked if I could keep the phone with him while I worked out. It was like a clear scam. And I was speaking in Spanish. I was like, dude, like, no, I'm listening to my headphones. So I'm going to keep the phone on me. Next thing you know, like 5 security guards come and they shut off the entrances at either point. And the problem they had is they were trying to jack me, but it was like 9 o'clock at night, a couple days before Christmas down there in Medellin. So there were still some like inflows and outflows at this gym. It was a public gym. It was like a free track that you ran around, and there was this entrance point to the track. That's actually like the official setup. So you like enter, there's this room, and then you walk through the door, and then there's this quarter-mile track. And the problem is there's still people going in and out, so they couldn't like outright jack me at that time, but it was like 9 o'clock at night, and they knew if they waited till about 10 when everybody else cleared out, that they could just have their way with me. And they all had these little batons and stuff, so they would have whooped my ass. Anyways, I basically talked my way into like, hey, you guys get this thing sorted. I know I did a wrong thing. I know I shouldn't have like walked into this track with my phone. How dare me? I'm crazy. I'm stupid. While you guys work this out, I'll go do my run. And then when I come back, because there's only one endpoint and only one entrance, when I come back, we can sort this out. I knew that bought them time for the people to air out, and I knew it bought me time to figure out what I was going to do. So anyways, I ended up figuring out after about 3 laps that there was one section, those little dinky gates that they have, where like the little clip just pops open and you swing it open, because there was barbed wire around the entirety of the track, and I would have got ripped up. It was like, and it was inverted barbed wire, so there's no climbing it. But there was this one section where there was this 3-foot gate that was wide open. So they had this security guard that kept on coming out watching me, because it was like I was their prized possession in the fishbowl, right? And as long as I didn't get out of the fishbowl, they had me. But anyways, I waited until this guy turned his back, and then, you know, I stood by this gate and did these like stretches, pretending like I was just stretching, played a patsy, played a fool. And then as soon as he turned his back, I jumped the fence, ran, and I was fine. I had one other wild situation down there where I went to a really bad neighborhood in Medellin with my brother and my dad when they came to visit, and yeah, we got literally like stalked and hunted. That was wild too. That's a whole other story. I can make a video more about Medellin if you guys want. But had some wild events down there, had an amazing time down there, one of the best 2-year periods of my life, learned Spanish, had an amazing period of my life down there, and that's right before I started buying businesses. So yeah, it was basically my last foray. I was doing a side hustle of consulting for guys and stuff like that. But anyways, that's number 3. Number 4, living in a Scottish castle for a week, meeting Dan Pena. A lot of you guys know that's kind of where I got my introduction to buying businesses. Meeting him, seeing this huge Scottish castle, being there, experiencing that. I mean, this place is glorious. You can Google Guthrie Castle. I mean, the guy's done very well for himself. And going through that whole process was really a wild time. There's a couple of funny stories that come to mind. I remember the first night, immediately, Pena and I did not exactly hit it off. I remember the first night I got there and had a couple of glasses of scotch because, you know, you're in Scotland and you pay a lot of money to go there, so he treats you really well. So first night, I remember he said, what did he say? Like, I wasn't paying attention because I was meeting all the guys that were there and I was just having a good time. First night, introduction night. And he said, Sally, sit down. Sally was his wife. He said, Sally, sit down. And all I heard was sit down. So I remember his wife sat down and I sat down. And it was just her and I. And he looked at me. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, yeah, whoops. Because it was so formal and I was just having a good time, whatever. So that was funny. And then I remember there was another moment, like 20 minutes later, where I was eating. And I was eating really slow because I was having a good time, drinking a couple of scotches, and, you know, kind of socializing with everyone. And the butler came and like tried to take my plate. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm still eating. And that worked once. And then the second time the butler came and I was still eating because I was talking a bunch, taking my time. And he tried to take my plate. And I was like, hey, I'm still eating. And at that point, Pena was like, have him take the plate now. And so the butler like takes the plate. And I was just laughing. You know, it was like one of those where he was trying to assert his dominance. And like, I get it. It's his castle. God bless him. At the time I was broke. But I was just having a good time. But Pena was actually a really nice guy behind closed doors. Very different than how he is kind of on camera. So that was another one that was a wild experience. Number 4, let's see. Well, actually, we had number 1, the rally car. Number 2, wild YouTube videos and getting arrested before college graduation. Number 3, Colombia, almost getting jacked a few times. Number 4, the Scottish castle, Guthrie Castle. Number 5 was doing a 7-figure deal with none of my own money. Just months after being broke. Well, when I was broke, and basically going on this adventure through Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, looking at all these mobile home parks, looking at all these deals. This was like the next step after the Pena thing. And I was broke as a joke, was sleeping in my rental car, and somehow pulled off this deal and did a 7-figure deal. And that just fundamentally transformed my life. I mean, that's kind of the whole essence of what this YouTube channel is mostly about, is buying businesses using other people's money. But that was a huge, huge win for me, massive life changer. And then number 6 was almost going BK, bankrupt, like 60 days after closing my first deal with Bright Utilities. I totally misunderstand the working capital situation at the time. And it's crazy, but the SBA lender literally set us up to fail. They didn't realize it. And had I not told that SBA lender, and I made other videos about this, and I can talk about it more if you want, but if I had not told that SBA lender to include an extra $50,000 in working capital, I literally think I would have gone bankrupt. The other part of it that was wild was literally they were trying to set us up. I mean, they didn't know it, but their accounting was so bad on their side, their underwriting was so poor on their side, that had I just taken what they said blindly, I would have gone bankrupt. But the best part was the fact that I asked for more working capital before closing the deal meant when I called them about a month after the deal closed, and I was like, guys, we all screwed this up, but God, I'm glad I asked you all for more working capital. Had we gone with your plan, I'd already be bankrupt. So we did another working capital. We did the main closing, and then about 45 days later, I injected another $250,000 in working capital. The money hit on Christmas Eve, December 24th of 2020. One of the best days of my life. It was in Tampa Bay. It was like 74 degrees. I'll never forget that day, seeing the money hit the account. And it was just one of those like beautiful moments where you're like, oh my God, that was way too crazy, but damn, this is great. This is the life of doing deals. And really, I would say that's the list in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other, colorful things that have happened in my life, but those are definitely top of the list. So anyways, hopefully you've liked that. It gives you a little more insight into my life and some of the things I've done. Maybe this is a wild video to plug, but hey, if you want me to help you buy businesses, go to jasonpaulrogers.com. That is what I do now professionally. And if you want to invest with me, maybe after realizing that I've been arrested before, you don't, but if you still want to invest with me, or if you want to learn more on a serious note, go to brightutilities.com. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more business, M&A, and life content like this. thumbs it up, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you in the next one.